Hey guys, it's Nicole and welcome to April's monthly celebrations video that I am doing a collaboration with Grace Tolman here on YouTube. Her information will be below in the description box as far as a link to her video, and she has a pretty active blog, so she usually sends me her link to her blog post to include as well. For April, I'm going pretty traditional and I am going to be covering some Easter photos. I'm probably, just based on how many pictures I took, I think I'm going to split up my Easter celebration as far as this year into different layouts. So today I'm just going to be doing the kids doing their Easter egg hunt. And these were from 2014. And so basically I just pulled up a couple Carrie Bradford photo templates that I had, kind of looked through them, and I saw this one and I knew I hadn't used it before. So I decided to go ahead and use this one, and it did include 4 other pictures right here, but they were super skinny, and as I was editing the photo collage, I kind of got the idea that I could delete them and then use this area to print my journaling on like some pattern paper and kind of have this be my designated journaling spot, maybe a little stamping, embellishing, that kind of thing. Because when you're using a large photo collage like this, it is going to take up a big chunk of, the real estate on a 12 by 12 layout. So for me, when I'm doing stuff like this, I kind of have to pre-plan enough space for me to hit what's important to me, and that's usually photos, title, journaling. Sometimes I won't do a title, sometimes I won't do a journaling if it's, it's kind of hit or miss, but usually stuff like this, where I know I'm going to want a title, I know I'm going to want journaling, and I'm going to want to fit as many photos as I can, I will typically go with photo collages for stuff like that. So I think today I'm just going to do a single page layout with this. Haven't figured out like title. I kind of don't want to get my Cameo out and deal with that today, so I may try to just do like some alpha stickers or something. And then I had remembered probably almost a year ago I participated in a challenge on a message board where they were walking through sort of how to do your own DIY kits, like pulling paper and embellishments and stickers and whatnot. And I remembered I had pulled a specific Easter themed one so that I could work through basically every Easter that my kids have ever had. I haven't scrapbooked any of them. So I literally just pulled this from my closet. Everything was still together. I may end up throwing some extra stuff in here as I'm going, but I think for now I am going to keep everything together and probably go through all my pictures and make a list of what I want to scrapbook, like how I want to separate everything, and just work my way through this kit. And I may go ahead and just do process videos as well and do like a playlist of working through my kit. I know that there are a lot of people that scrapbook with kits, like Grace. She does a lot of kits. I almost think she does a monthly one. I'm behind on videos, so I can't remember if she did one this month or not, but she usually pulls like her own kit based on her stash and then works within that kit for whatever she's scrapbooking that month. So this is kind of, usually I will pull this much product for one layout. So I'm going to try to just keep putting everything back together as I work through different Easter holidays and whatnot. So basically I just pulled out anything from my stash. I mean, there's stuff from buttons, chipboard shapes, alpha stickers, 12 by 12 stickers, and then a lot of the papers I had gotten in like a grab bag type thing. So a lot of them are from Bella Boulevard, Simply Spring line, and that's fine. I tend to pull from collections that coordinate anyways. I may throw in some more like tone on tone stuff like this in some different colors as I'm going and as I'm using the kit. I am pretty much out of like white textured cardstock to use as backgrounds, so today I may end up using something like this for a background and just kind of challenge myself to get this stuff used up because I have a ton of it. So I am going to go ahead and get started and take you guys along on the process. Okay, so pretty much my first step in the process was to go and kind of cruise through the different pattern papers and sort of get an idea of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to use for a background. And for the background, I just chose this pink gingham pattern. I was showing that it was basically like a bonus pattern in the collection pack, I guess. And so they basically printed it on the back of the paper that shows the different patterns that come in the collection. And that didn't bother me. You can't see anything through it. And then I knew I wanted to use some of the stripes from the other side of this paper that I'm cutting here. But I also wanted to be able to use the multicolored stripe pattern that was on the back. And so before I went ahead and started cutting into it, I figured out an area on the paper that I knew I wasn't going to like that particular pattern that was on the row. So I went ahead and cut that one into 5 different little skinny strips that I can kind of spread out throughout the Easter themed kit, I guess. And when I saw the paper that had all the different strips of phrases and patterns and whatnot, that's something that I'm kind of geared to. I like using paper strips as a way to get a lot of color and a lot of patterns onto a layout. So I wasn't really surprised that that was the first paper out of all those that I had pulled that I decided to go ahead and cut into. And so like the strip with the carrots and the bunnies and the blue phrase all came from that pattern paper. And then I've got a yellow scallop border sticker from the 12x12 stickers that coordinated with this Bella Boulevard line. I pulled a purple scalloped border piece from those super old Doodlebug, I think they're called paper trims or paper frills, something like that. And then I had just gone over to sort of the stack of papers that I had used recently and found that like aqua teal colored diagonal striped, and I just cut a thin strip off of that to kind of break up and add a little bit of more color at the top of the layout. So once I had figured out that that was sort of where I was going with this, I went ahead and attached my photos to the layout. Typically, I will figure out my photos and my papers first and kind of get those nailed down right away. I don't really like laying out my whole page without attaching anything. Like, I just don't like fussing with it. I don't like when things kind of move around. So pretty much I try to make decisions quickly and kind of commit to them, I guess. So, and I'm just kind of having everything be pushed up against the right hand side of the page. That was just kind of what I liked when I was laying everything out, and that's what I'm going to go with. So again, once I figured out that I liked the placement of my photo collage and my paper strips, I just go ahead and put them down right away. That way it's not something that I'm messing with constantly when I'm trying to figure out the rest of the layout. And pretty much the paper and photo placement was about the only thing that I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Didn't really have like a game plan of anything else I was going to do. I didn't really have like a technique that I wanted to do. I didn't have any specific supplies that I was trying to use up or anything like that. So I pretty much would take a little chunk of the layout, get it done, walk away and think about it and come back. Here I had pulled a super old paper from Simple Stories Snapline. It had like a solid color on the back, and then the other side of the papers all had like notebooks or grids or something like that. And that's typically what I like to print my journaling on if I'm going to keep it together. If I'm just doing journaling strips, I'll just use like white cardstock. And I got lucky that when I printed it out, and I tried to see if my camera could pick it up, but it wasn't. When it printed out, the line spacing was perfect for the lines on the paper, so I was kind of excited that I could get it lined up. And then I just take it over to the window, like I open the blinds and I hold it up to the window to get it lined up, tape it down with some washi tape, and run it back through my printer again. And then I just took my ruler and figured out how tall that gutter on my photo collage was and made that fit. And then I took a notebook punch from Stamping Up and just punched the edges. I kind of want to look for almost like a smaller one. I feel like sometimes that one's so big, especially when you don't have something that's like very long that you're punching.
And in hindsight, I kind of wish that I had just made my journaling fit that space, but I didn't. It would just, like I said, I didn't plan anything ahead of time, and I just kind of went with it. Here, I figured out that I wanted to do some stamping on the journaling area where it was open, and I had done some test stamps with the phrase that I wanted to use, and it just kept coming out splotchy and uneven, and I think it was because I hadn't used the stamp before. So I decided to use this Hampton Arts stamp Perfect, I think is what it's called. It's since been pulled from the shelves, but if you can find one, you might want to grab them while you can. So I used that just to do that observations phrase, only so that I could stamp it 2 or 3 times depending on if I needed to. Again, it was a stamp I hadn't used before, and I wasn't sure if I was having issues with the stamp or if my ink pad was going dry, and I'm pretty sure it was just because the stamp was new, because it worked fine when I did this heart, and I've used this heart a ton of times. The inks were sort of from everything. The purple was a Mama Elephant, pink was Ranger dye ink, the orange and yellow hearts were done with my favorite thing's dye inks, and I just have the little cubes. I can't get enough of them. I love the fact that they're little and you can kind of get more colors for your dollar, I guess. And then the green, and I used the same blue that I stamped observations in. Those were also Mama Elephant inks. And I just went based off of color. I have like a swatch thing. I just go off of color. I'm fine mixing dye and pigment. It doesn't bother me. So once I had that, I went ahead and committed to attaching my journaling and getting that done. And then for whatever reason, I was struggling with figuring out not necessarily a title. Like, I knew I was just going to do, Easter egg hunt or something along those lines. But my problem was I wanted to do the title going sideways, like from the bottom towards the top. And almost all the letters I had were pink or white, and I'm like, they're not going to show up on the background paper, and I didn't like that the white was running into where I have that white notebook paper hanging over. So I had to keep just kind of walking away and thinking about it, and then once I added this little scalloped border sticker over on the left, I liked that it had a little pop of black in it, and my journaling was black, and so I decided, you know what, I have black thickers, I'm going to go with that, and it will kind of tie in with that and not make those two sort of look so out of place. And then I couldn't figure out what I wanted to use to spell Easter. Some of the other letters I was missing T's for some reason, so I couldn't spell Easter. So I used one of the little phrase stickers, and I popped up the one in the title and the one on the journaling. I popped both of them up with some dimensional foam adhesive to give it a little bit more interest. And then I went through those buttons that I had showed at the beginning, and I'm going to end up mixing some buttons and some sparkling clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. Decided not to do enamel dots. Usually if I'm doing something that's very linear and it's a lot of paper strips or a lot of squares or something like that, I like to kind of break it up with my, I guess in my mind, I think like finishing touches part of your layout. I like doing things like enamel dots and stuff like that. Anything that's sort of little and circular, and you can kind of customize as far as what colors you're choosing and the size and stuff like that. So I love using stuff like buttons and sequins and enamel dots, and I just bought a couple colors of the Nuvo drops, but I decided not to use them on this. I think white would have been the only one that would have worked. So that was pretty much it. I kept it simple. I just wanted the focus to be on my photos and sort of have everything else just kind of support it. So here's the close-up pictures and the final picture of the completed layout. And again, check out the description box for links to Grace's video and her blog post.